air conditioning, welcome. And if you've been in my classes before, you know what to do mentally. You begin to get, the nominal you begins to get scared that you're kicking them out for 2 hours, yeah? The normal one that's got all the problems and all the things is getting scared that you're gonna hang out with someone else for 2 hours and you're inviting the state of mind that could possibly perceive this world in an enlightened way. If it's true that you've got that potential inside of you somewhere, how would it look? And just the imagining of that allows you to practice that state of mind. So I invite you just now, whatever problems you have, I've got them too, yeah? Whatever issues you have, whatever is bothering, distressing, annoying, even the thoughts of past, oh, this could have happened, the thoughts of future, I've got to do this. Really, give yourself a rest for 2 hours. It's good. Piss it off for 2 hours. Out the door, out the building, on the street. Let that stuff, all those thoughts, be run over by trucks. 2 hours, and then you're free to just observe your response to blah blah and see where that comes from. Observe how you receive knowledge, and then be looking at that knowledge with a hope for application. So to do that, I invite you to make an offering through mandala, perfect universe, whatever you can imagine, and you are offering this to the highest essence that teaches you, your teacher, your guru, whatever you call that. Imagine a perfect universe and you bribe them for teachings. May they come in your experience right now and help you learn. Buki Jushin Metotram Viragin Shin Padi Sangye Shindu Mite Duargi Dropun Namda Shimla Chupasho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kandinyatayani Sudam Soki Choknama Shamshu Bardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Junyen Gipe Sonamki Drola Panchir Sangye Drupasho Chudam Soki Choknanga Shamshu Bardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Junyen Gipe Sonamki Drola Panchir Sangye Drupasho Chudam Soki Choknama Shamshu Bardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Junyen Gipe Sonamki Drola Panchir Sangye Drupasho. And as best as you can, try and take refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha jewels, this idea that the emptiness of your mind now is equal to the emptiness of your mind as a Buddha. That every existing thing has its core quality, no essence at all. And that there are beings who have witnessed this, experienced this directly, and are living their lives in accordance to that truth. And you have access to them. Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Who thought of a person that they wanted to do that exercise in the middle of the class? Remember my godmother, Dorita? Who's written her stuff? Good, thank you. Who sent it? Awesome, thank you. She doesn't know what's coming. I said, oh, I talked about you in class the other day and people really liked you. She goes, oh, that's so sweet. And I go, maybe one of them will send you something. She goes, I'd be so excited. 50 cards, right? Nice. So who wants to contribute a human to that pool of do-gooding? Anyone want to share? Not now, but for later. You've got somebody?
Well, I don't have pictures, but
that's fine.
Yeah.
Would you be prepared to do it at the break and tell us about them?
Oh, I could tell you about.
Yeah, at the break we'll do that. Anyone else? Be nice to your people. Yeah, good. And you? Next week is fine. How long you here? 1 week?
I think
2 more weeks? So maybe, if not next week, can you do it today or not?
but I didn't bring.
If I give you the Facebook, have you heard of that? It's a social media tool.
Yeah, it's my grandma.
She's not on Facebook?
But actually there's a couple of pictures.
That's it. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Facebook is like the best thing since
Since sliced bread.
yeah. Since cat paint. And you've got someone? Someone you
Absolutely.
love? You do? That's bloody nice, isn't it? The rest of you, I encourage you, please find someone you like. The idea here is we're picking somebody that doesn't expect it, and we're going to send them a flood of letters saying, hey, I know someone that you know, and they said you're awesome, we love you. And then, that older person will get happy, hopefully. So, let's see. Who's done the quiz today? Ouch. How about you finish it? I'll give you 2 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. And if you haven't, try it. Just write 1 or 2 answers on it, and then you would have done a quiz. Please.
Because he teaches emptiness.
Because he teaches emptiness. That's good.
That's the answer of like 3 of the 4. Thank you, Emily. You got it under control as best as you can. Last minute. Thank you. Yeah. We'll find you someone in the break. Huh? Have you? Awesome. So while you're doing the quiz, maybe we're going to review the answer while you're doing it.
I like that.
But the trick that I'm doing is I want to review the entire course every class as best as I can. So by the time you do your final, you actually know something. Yeah? Because it's easy to come here, get a distraction for 2 hours, and then forget it in the world. But there's some core ideas. When I first did this course with Geshe, I didn't understand. It was so all over the place for me. And now that I get to teach it, it's beginning to make sense why all these seemingly disparate ideas are producing, are focusing and forcing the mind to come to a conclusion. So let's just look at some ideas that are not in the Western world in this way, that began in this course. And we began with the idea of a word called pramana, which in Tibetan is,
Correct perception.
that's English. In Tibetan is
Sema.
that's it.
Go to
That's good. It's sema, right? And it's a correct perception. Yeah. That's interesting thing. Correct perception. What's a correct perception? Perception. Really? Just what do you think? What do you think is a correct perception? How do you describe as existence? That which is perceived by a valid perception. I'm drinking water. Is that a valid perception?
Yeah.
It's not brain surgery. That's it. That's okay. Yeah. You're forced to experience something. In this case, in the nominal world, it's valid. I'm drinking a liquid. You're drinking it. Valid perception. No problem. If it turned out to be rocks while I put it in my mouth, then it wasn't valid. I think we can work with that. But this whole idea that there's such a thing as a valid perception of pramana, sema, is important because as the debate in, I guess, what would be called the classical Indian philosophical period, where all these people were around debating each other, Charvakas and the Buddhists and Hindu schools, people were trying to figure out what reality was. And so sema was an important subject of pramana. Yeah? And so these ideas popped up that said, can someone have a sema, an ultimate sema, of absolutely everything? You know, and we weaved through a being that could have omniscience. We remember that argument? And the reason we went there is so they could, because if they had omniscience, they would have a valid perception about absolutely everything. That which is perceived by a valid perception is existence. All existing things. If someone could experience all existing things correctly, yeah, nominally, and in the described case ultimately, and if it was possible to get there, that would be worth trying. Because this cyclic life has some suffering. So what's a valid perception? It was correct. So we weaved through lots of arguments. And then we came across a school that said omniscience would only happen if you're a creator being, and then they had a little argument about that. And that forced us to think slightly different about the way we think things, where we think things and experience in the world comes from. And then we looked at Master Dignaga's the opening statement of his text on pramana, and he described a Buddha, a totally correct being, a being who could become a metaphor of a Buddha, of a being who could become a valid perception, totally correct, meaning perceiving everything correctly. And those 5 qualities at the end of last class, we said with this is caused by that. It was the forward order. What was it called?
Was it the backward order? We started from the top.
I know it seemed very reversed, but it said the forward 4 reasonings of the forward order. So what were the 4 reasonings? It sounds very mystical, but think about it. The argument at this point was you can become totally correct if. What was the first of the 4 reasonings?
Because he's the protector.
Because he's the protector. How can he protect?
Because he's eliminated all of our problems.
Because he went to bliss.
But
Yeah.
isn't bliss eliminating all of our problems?
Yeah.
That comes next. But correct. And then
Because he has great
he has compassion. So the steps are, the mother of all things in this argument is compassion begins everything. have a sense of compassion to whatever degree, and that forces you to teach, that forces you to have an experience of going to bliss, getting rid of all your negative qualities and empowering all the good ones. And then you can really protect people, which lets you have be a completely correct being. But then we can't verify any of that. So what's the closest we can verify for someone being a protector? Why? So how can you protect someone? How can the Buddha, an enlightened being, forget the word Buddha, an enlightened being, a creature who popped in here, was totally correct, how could they help you in your condition, me in my condition, New York in its condition, this world in this condition? If someone had a completely correct experience of the entire universe, saw the matrix, put their finger through the matrix and went zzz, and then we're in, they've come here to talk to you, how can they really help you? How can they protect you from the sufferings of this matrix? They teach you. But how can you verify that? What do they teach? Yeah? What can they do to protect you?
Teach you how to get out of suffering.
Excellent. Teach you to get out of suffering. So what's the thing they teach? What to give up and what to take up, which are the 4 noble truths or iron truths. That's it. That's all we can verify. And out of those 4, which ones can you really verify? Only the first one. Yeah. So that's important. That's important because then you know that if somebody described, if you cannot refute the description of the basis that is living in this matrix by any means, then you have to at least have some hope that the other 3 are correct. If they describe the first one perfectly, if the doctor that treated my mother described everything that I could understand perfectly, I had to trust him that the rest he was correct. Because I couldn't help her. I couldn't cut her up. Same. Yeah?
Can I say something?
You can say whatever you like.
This kind of struck me this week because I had a friend who came to me very desperate, talking about like I've charged my credit cards up and I'm in this really desperate place. And it's the same thing. It's like I can't give him money and take that problem away because he would just create that problem again.
Yeah.
All I could really do was sort of like offer him a different perspective and a way to do it differently. There was a desire to want to take it away and just be like, well, let me write you a check. Everything will be fine or something. But it wouldn't
Never
actually
take
help
it
his
away.
condition because the condition is him constantly charging up his credit cards. So
How beautiful.
that strikes me differently now, hearing it again. Like,
Oh, nice.
like all you really can do is help someone to see themselves.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you, Peter. So then, how can somebody possibly describe 4 things totally correct? They've gone to bliss. They've had an experience of removing all the things that are obstructing them, having lived the things that are suffering for us, removed those, and taken up all the things that they've had that experience. Yeah? Good. And then, how can you ever have that experience? How can you, in these teachings, how can you possibly understand the totality of things to take up and give up and understand the condition, which refers to the teacher? What do they teach? What could they teach? Emptiness. Yeah, the understanding of where things really come from, karma and emptiness. It must have a direct experience of emptiness. It must cut through the fabric of our cyclic world. And the only way to do that is to actually have an experience, a direct visceral experience of the condition, of the code in the matrix. Then you come back, you try and function in the matrix. Sorry about the movie analogy. But see that there are beings, let's say beings who go to nirvana, who have seen emptiness. And something has to be sprung in them to want to teach. It's the core of this path, Mahayana path, is compassion. It's Mahakaruna. It's great compassion. Yeah. So that's an interesting idea. So we've then gone all the way to get ultimate compassion, you would require such a long bloody time that the Charvaka said that's not possible. You can't have lifetimes of habituating a mind until you would need lifetimes of habituating a mind in order to have that kind of compassion that would drive you.
Can I interrupt
Yeah.
you for a second? So you said there are beings who have seen emptiness directly, but they're not driven by
I know,
compassion,
I agree.
right? But wouldn't see emptiness directly immediately trigger compassion in a way? Like when you see where things come from and how it works.
It depends which path you look at it from. My understanding is that yes, at that point you'd have to go, of course. Like, you know, oh look, I'm not alone, there's all these other creatures. Or I'm experiencing all these things. I have to, at the bare minimum,
Share.
understand that these beings are coming from you. It's a, yes, but
Okay.
And then again, great compassion is actually doing something.
doing something and you taking the personal responsibility.
You could see emptiness and not yet love something. So you could see emptiness and not have great compassion.
Yeah, good. And there were 3 types of compassion described, remember? It was just compassion, Mahakaruna, and then holy compassion. You'll remember that? One was described of an enlightened being, holy compassion. Mahakaruna is the one that actually, the last step before bodhicitta in the 7 course of bodhicitta steps that we did in the previous course, that was plaksam, yeah? Personal responsibility. I'm going to do something, it's up to me. And then it's just a compassion. So, that's good. You did good. We did okay. All this led to this idea today. I want to cover 2 things. Say, Nerlengi
Nerlengi
Gyu. Where is the Gyu? Nerlengi Gyu. So after Gyi is Gyu. Okay, so there's one thing missing. Nerlengi Gyu. And that means material cause. Nerlengi Gyu. Gyu. And say Kien. Kien. That's the bottom. Kien. So I want to think of these 2 things. I want to introduce these 2 ideas. A Nerlengi Gyu is the material cause. The thing that becomes something, the core that produces that next thing. In all of existence, the Nerlengi Gyu of a tree is its seed. And then the Gyen is secondary factors or compositional factors or conditions that are required to help that result come forward. So in the case of a tree, that would be sunlight, water, warmth, earth. So I want you to think about that for a little bit. It was very interesting for me to hear it the first time. A Nerlengi Gyu is the thing that flops over into the result. In a simple way, what's the oak tree's seed? What's it called? An acorn? Is the Nerlengi Gyu for an oak tree. And the secondary factors or conditions required for that to flop over into a tree are soil, nutrients, sunlight. And how do you differentiate between the 2? You know, this was hard. So today we're going to talk about only about the Nerlengi Gyu, about one particular thing, and I'll talk about it in a second. But get the idea, Nerlengi Gyu is the thing that flops over into the result. If you remove the Nerlengi Gyu and you still had all the conditional factors, you could not have a tree. Do you see what I mean? Like you could remove enough sunlight and you'd have a crappy little tree or a slow growing tree. You could water it too much or too little. You'd still have this thing trying to pop out. It needs the Nerlengi Gyu. It requires the material cause. Without that, no tree. You can have as much, you can grab all the moisture required, all the nutrients required, all the soil required, all the water required, and wait, and there'd be no tree. Because the material cause isn't there. You with me? This idea, I think, is just lovely. It's beautiful because we mix it up in the West. In fact, all I did today, I was a little bit dazed. I was walking around town because I had an appointment, didn't work out, and I'm listening to people's conversation because I'm eavesdropper, and people are making these bizarre connections between cause and effect. You know, like, you can't tell me, like I just heard people yelling on the phone and just making these bridges. I can't remember all of them, and they're making a bridge between I'm feeling this way because that over there happened. Yeah? This occurred because blah, blah, blah. And people are forever looking for the near-lengi cure, and they're spending time in the soil and the water and the warmth, thinking that if you grab them all together, that was what caused it. And that's a mistake. That's a mistake. So this is a really interesting idea. Do you all know Brianna, lady that was doing the homeworks? Yeah? Okay. For those of you that don't know, she had a complete nervous breakdown. She totally had a delusional, paranoid, schizophrenic breakup. That it was building. She was building for a month. Yeah? But she totally lost it the other day. She's hearing, she's making connections in her mind, and that's the definition of you gone cuckoo. You're making connections that are now all of a sudden obvious to everyone else, that you're making correlations between cause and effect that have nothing to do with the shared reality we have. Yeah, she got admitted to a psych ward. She's in a psych ward right now. So I'm going to ask you that you think about her as we talk about trauma, as we talk about valid perception. Because I'm sitting in that room yesterday, I had to actually put her in. I'm sitting there and I'm seeing people talking about a reality that's not shared with everyone else. People tapping on the glass saying, this happened in there, and this is a room full of people that we lock away because something flipped, and they're making so many incorrect correlations that we think you're a Fruit Loop, put you in a room. But in fact, we're all on the fringe of that all the time. I became very aware of that. We're all on the fringe of that all the time, and somehow we escape, we vacillate between, oh, we're sort of right, 80% right, 90% right, 30% right, you know? We have this delusional state. So this thing is being in a delusional state. Then people get so delusional that they're totally disconnected from their shared reality, where there could be a risk to themselves and others. That happened to Brianna, where she's getting tested, medicated, whatever. Yeah. So think about her, help her with your mind. But the point I'm telling you about here is that we do this all the time. We are that close to being in that room. In fact, this world is that room. We're tapping at the glass. Seriously, I'm in the waiting area for patients that are being admitted, the doctor seeing her, whatever, and all the people inside that have already been admitted are all with their gowns, and they're walking around dazed. And this one guy just wouldn't stop tapping at the glass, wanting us to make eye contact. You know? And there was this police lady in there, she brought a lady handcuffed who had gone crazy in the street. And the lovely, lovely police lady turns to the person that had been tapping for about 15 minutes, and everybody was ignoring them, including me. You know, and she says, I see you. And the person smiled and then went away. They just needed that connection. Yeah. I see you, she said. I see you. Yeah. And it occurred to me that policewoman was like a Buddha. You know, and we're tapping on the glass. We're trying. So, what we're talking about is important. Because if we find the near-lengi cure, if we find the real cause for a very specific thing, your mind today in this body, if we know where it comes from, if we look at the ideas we have in our minds that we were born with, because we're born into this culture and we think we know something. Not only that, we have this arrogance that because it's the year 2012, we know more than any other time in history. That's bullshit. We've got our own mistakes. So if we could figure out with logic and with honesty, looking at where you think your world really comes from, where does your mind come from? What's the near lengi cure for your consciousness? And then what's the kien? We're not going to talk about the kien too much, but we'll touch on it in the search for the near lengi cure. The essence, the core, the original, the material cause that flocked into your consciousness in this life. What is it? So I'd like you to bring your mind to the very first moment of consciousness that this body of yours could have had this life. We talked about it a little bit last week at the meditation, but I want you to think about, is it a reasonable thing to think that you must have had the first moment of consciousness in this body, in this life? Is that a reasonable assumption? Would you disagree with me if I said you must have had your first moment of consciousness, of mind, appear at some point in your development in this world? Is that true? That's not crazy, right? Okay. I want us to go, and for some people it's different. For Buddhists, it says that occurs at the moment of conception. Egg and sperm meet, consciousness is there. We think different. We think we can chop up a fetus up until the 3 months period. Yeah, and there's no consciousness there. And then some people think that there's no consciousness until you're birthed. Yeah? Now, I don't know what you think. Don't lie to yourself. Whatever it is you think, you think. But you have to agree, whatever it's there, there must have been the first moment of consciousness in this body, in this thing that you call you. Your flow of consciousness, your moment-to-moment change of mind must have had a first one in this life, in this planet. Are you with me? Yeah? I want to go there as the object of finding the near lengi cure for that. So let's touch near lengi cure again so you get the idea. Material cause. Without it, doesn't matter how many compositional factors you have, nothing's going to pop up. So what's the near lengi cure for, let's say, a ceramic pot? What would be? Clay, mud.
Really? No, somebody didn't do it.
Ah. No, I'm looking for the pot. For the pot. Could a bunch of clay? Can somebody without clay produce a pot?
No.
So somebody must be a kin. Yeah? Because you can imagine the earth moving or whatever and then flopping onto a rock, a big chunk of mud, and then the sun heating on it, and then all of a sudden you've got a pot. Yeah? Without a person. I don't know, I'm making it up. Yeah?
Figure it out.
They're necessary. The secondary causes are necessary. You will definitely need a person for a specific kind of pot. But you remove the clay, forget it. They're not making a pot.
So the person is the kin?
Person would be a kin. Yeah, the functional part of it. Yeah, kin. Or the machinery that goes into producing stuff, a pen or something, a plastic pen would be kins. Not interested in kins today. We want to go for the source of the seed, the DNA of the thing. Yeah? Without that material cause, no thing. Yeah? Okay. Make sure I want to cover all things. What some characteristics of a near lengi cure are: the result is similar to the cause. So there's something similar about the stuff of the seed that produces a tree. There's something similar between clay and pot. There's something similar. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Something similar about the result and the thing. Between the material cause and its result. It's corresponding stuff. It's like produces like. Like a physical thing produces a physical thing. Like a woody substance produces a woody substance. They're hard to define. That's a quality of a near-Lengi cube. It must be similar to its result. You can't have, I'm trying to think, an egg of a fish which has got a specific thing produce. Horses come from eggs? No. A chicken. They don't come from eggs, they come from little tiny.
They sort of
Well,
do.
seahorses do.
Yeah, seahorses, thank you, that's what I was thinking.
There is an egg involved. It's just
There is, yeah, I know. And we share this idea in the West, we just don't call it by these names. We know that if you plant a specific type of seed, you get tomato plants and not pumpkin plants. So we believe that there's something similar. And science has this really, really well organized, and have investigated this really well. So there's something similar between the cause and the result, the substance of the near-Lengi cure and the result. What else do I need to tell you about that? Okay. So I think it's Kedrup J. There's a commentary in your reading. I think it's Kedrup. Yeah, Kedrup J. One of J. Tsongkapa's two disciples who's gone missing in action. Yeah. Writes in a commentary that he wants to find the near-Lengi cure for the first moment of mind. And that's what we're going to cover now. Over there on that left-hand chart, that could be, the first time I saw that, I loved it. That is part of a diagram of absolutely everything. And I thought, that's a little bit arrogant of the Tibetans. But it's quite beautiful. So Kedrup J is going to go through a process of elimination through every existing thing in the universe, without exception. There in the board in front of you. Yeah? It's crazy, right? And through the process of elimination, it's going to find Waldo, the near-Lengi cure for your first moment of consciousness in this life. If you could map out every single thing in existence and then start through the process of elimination saying, it's not here, could it be here? It's not here, could it be here? It's not here, we should find it. Because it's a knowable thing. It's one of the many things in the universe. Yeah? Are you with me so far? Okay, so say Sheja.
Sheja.
So She means to know and Ja means thing. So knowable thing or knowable object. It's a synonym for all existing things in Buddhism. Now that's strange, I thought, right? How can knowable object be a synonym for all existing things? Why would you think that's the case?
Because if you don't know it, it doesn't exist.
That's interesting. If I don't know, it doesn't exist. There's plenty of things that I don't know that do
I'd
exist.
say for it to exist, it has to be known.
For it to exist, it has to be knowable. Okay, I think it's a little bit more reverse than that thing, but they're good. They're
If you
good
look at
stretches.
the definition of pramana, it
The
says,
definition of pramana is.
she said,
She said.
That
That was
precedes my age.
that was perceived
Very correct
by,
person.
Let me flip it again. All existing things. Is there a creature in existence who knows all existing things? So all existing things and knowable objects are synonyms because the assertion is that there is a being who is omniscient.
someone who knows a lot.
Someone knows everything. That's lovely. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
So we have to start with that.
Yeah, let's start with that. Well, it's just if you can imagine every single thing without exception, that's the first line. Can we agree that there must be everything? That everything is. That everything that is. Can you agree with that? Whew, good. So let's now go figure out if we can divide that into in two slices where nothing escapes it. Okay? So can you agree? You know takpa and you know mitakpa already, don't you? What's mitakpa? What's takpa? Unchanging thing and changing. Can you say that the entirety of absolutely everything can be divided into those things that change and those things that don't change?
Yeah.
That's a good thing. I can't argue with that. I've tried. I mean, you can try too. You should try. Yeah? Okay, that's interesting. So we can divide the entirety of absolutely everything between takpa, unchanging, and mitakpa, changing. And just pause for a second and look at your life. Most things in your life, let's look at the light around us right now. Changing or unchanging?
Changing.
How come?
The bulbs burn out.
Yeah, and so I can see the vacillation of that. Yeah. What about sound? Good. What about color? Changing. Yeah. Very subtle changes. Yeah. Good. What about your experience of your body sitting there? Yeah. I'm not allowed to do rude jokes, but I really wanted to. Okay. So the majority of anything unchanging here that you are directly experiencing.
We used to say space, but they just discovered this particle that says that space is no longer.
I actually disagree with Hobbes. Yeah, because the particle must be sitting somewhere. And the idea of space, as described in Buddhist thought, is not the. It's not. I wish I can remember Geshe Michael's explanation of space. It's not that particle, the Hobbes particle, is sitting.
It's Higgs,
And-
isn't it?
Well, he says it
Higgs.
sits
Higgs,
there, it's
Higgs,
just in a
sorry.
different- It's just in a different dimension. It is sitting.
It is. Yeah, it's sitting.
It's just a
It's sitting where?
It's in a different dimension.
Yeah, but it's sitting where? And is a different dimension part of everything? Okay.
Is it a version of an acorn?
Is it a version of an acorn? I don't know what you mean.
Is the Higgs boson or whatever, is that just another example?
The Higgs particle. Well, that's the argument. The argument from the Large Hadron Collider is that this particle. Do I understand what that is? That Large Hadron Collider, $10 billion to try and find proof for the theory of absolutely everything. It's the same search we're going through. We're searching for Sheja, everything. Yeah, but they've spent $10 million. We're sitting in the class, and seriously, same search. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
They're just spending all
Yeah,
this time.
they've got hundreds, thousands of scientists around the world trying to find this particle, Higgs particle, because the idea is Higgs particle. Here we go. See if I remember. Higgs particle.
It's what gives all the other particles mass.
Yeah, it's what gives all the other particles mass, but I'm trying to describe this idea of it floating somewhere. So the idea is that like two people walking into a room, one's got celebrity status, this is what I remember, and the other one doesn't have celebrity status. Yeah, so I walk into the room in Bushwick and I have ghetto celebrity status at Little Skips. Right? So I walk into Little Skips and people talk to me, okay? All three of them. Yeah? And so those people gather around the ghetto celebrity, yeah, and it slows down my flow between me and the coffee order. Yeah, I have to slow down. Yeah, it gives it mass. You see how it's slowing me down through space-time continuum. Yeah, someone that does not have celebrity status can walk straight up to there very fast through space. Yeah, and that's the idea. But they've never had evidence that those particles slowing me down, the three ghetto celebrity paparazzi, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So then the Large Hadron Collider says if we smash two of the finest particles, we should break a little chip off the fabric of all the ghetto celebrity paparazzi and see some of them chip off, and that's evidence that there's something there. Yeah, that's my.
So as a particle travels through space, it's different from when it starts to when it stops. So it's not empty space.
There's something
change
that,
that's
yeah,
happening.
there's change. Yeah.
That was my argument why saying that empty space is unchanging might not.
No, but there's a different definition, and I can't remember it. It's not that empty space is like the idea of space, of unchanging, is that the space that's here, whilst occupied or unoccupied, is still space.
But it's different space though, because it.
The space is there. It's not the coordinates either. I wish I could remember. I don't remember it. I'm sorry. Yeah, but it does not change.
I was just gonna say, the way I see it, everything stays the same all the time, except when they change from one atom to another. That was my understanding.
From one atom to another.
Yeah, even light, when you say it changes, if you turn it off, it goes into something that's
And-
atoms.
yeah.
Still.
So I'm not going to solve the Large Hadron Collider $10 billion question. Yeah,
Come on.
Come on.
but you have to. Like for you. Yeah, in this way, they've been doing this for 2,000 years and more. So let's go back. Yeah.
Sorry, that was a
No,
side note.
but that's fine. We're searching for one thing. Your mind for the entire class should be on one thing and one thing only. The cause, the near-lenguicure that flopped into what?
Pedro.
Your first moment of consciousness in this planet, on this world. You have to agree that you had that, right? At some point. And I don't care if you said when I was a month old, 3 weeks old, when the fetus was this long, or I don't know when you think it is, and I don't care, it doesn't matter. At whatever point you believe that first happened, we're looking for the near-lenguicure then, for that thing. Yeah, and we're searching through all of existence, and then we say, well, all of existence has changing and unchanging things, okay? Is the nature of your mind changing or unchanging? Changing. So, do you think you're going to find it mitakpa or mitakpa? Why? You have to know why. You can't just say it. Yeah? Why? Why would you say that a changing thing would be found under the changing thing, would be produced by a changing thing? Why can't you say a changing thing was produced by an unchanging?
Well, because it needs to have the same nature of the cause.
Excellent. Similar nature, not same. Yeah.
It's similar nature.
And so do you remember in the class, 2 classes ago, when we had a discussion about whether an omniscient being could be changing or unchanging? Do you remember? That's why we had that discussion, so you can be here and be convinced. Okay, so that's the point of that discussion, is that there was a philosophical view at the time that believed a changing thing, omniscience, mind changing, could be produced by an unchanging, all impotent, incompetent, no, omnipotent. That was a Freudian slip. B. And then the Buddhists, when you did you like that? Yeah, good. The Buddhists argued successfully, I think, that you cannot have an unchanging thing producing a changing thing. And if you think about it, for something to change, it must expend energy. And if the object that you're perceiving is changing, there's something behind it producing the change, moment by moment, which means it's producing its rise and decay, rise and decay. That thing, the course of it must be changed. It's expending energy as the acorn produces the tree or the seedling, it disappears. It flops away, it changes. Cause, changing thing caused by changing thing. Similar thing, yeah? And let me just, are you with me so far? Yeah, good. Let me just go into an aside for those of you who are interested, and I think this is the most magnificent thing. You have to pause your mind here because we're going to return here. This is totally an aside, but it's a beautiful thing. Think about the acorn flopping into a seedling. At what point does it stop being an acorn and does it start being a seedling? Or at what point does a seedling stop being a seedling and is turned into a tree? Think about it. Millisecond by millisecond. Fractional of a millisecond by millisecond. At what point does the acorn stop being the cause and you are left with the result? And if you are honest with yourself, like walking between here and the door, you must get to halfway. And between here and the door, you must get halfway to the halfway between there and the door. And to get from there to the door, you have to get halfway of the halfway. If you spend some time really thinking about it, it is one of the meditation practices that can lead you to an ultimate experience of emptiness. Direct. Considering that question.
See, the thing is that that question then breaks down anything that for the previous question, when, like, let's think about that first moment of consciousness. Like, it's the same.
That's
like,
why I said it's a complete aside. It's not the same. When you can, no, you can. That's why it's an aside, because I need to lead you through a sutric experience of cause and effect in finding through nominal. This is still functioning reality. You must have had a first moment. I'm still drinking water. It doesn't mean that things don't exist. Okay, when you are lost in that paradigm, in that paradox, you can be forced to have an experience of emptiness. I'm just telling you that because if you are meditating and trying to meditate on emptiness, that is one amazing meditation. The more you do it, the more you can't do it. And then your mind is forced to find another answer. So I'm just telling you that as an aside, but you still got to find where functioning things come from. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have done the diversion.
Good diversion.
Mitakpa, changing things. So we are agreed now that it's probably that first moment of consciousness is probably not found under the takpa section of all existing things. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes. Cross the bastard out. Good. Excellent. So it must be somewhere in mitakpa. So within mitakpa, let me make sure. Within mitakpa, we have, say, Bempo and Rigpa. Does anyone remember Rigpa, where it came from? The word Rigpa? What's it mean?
Clear light.
Mind.
Mind.
Okay. Yeah, it's a word for mind. The search for it is not just an interesting question, okay? The search of what we're finding, or we're looking for, is not just an interesting question. If you could chip away at whatever prejudice you come with, just like the Higgs particle, right? They're trying to chip away a fraction of reality from their point of view, from the scientific world, to try and find something. They're trying to chip away some unknowable thing, yeah? Unfound thing. If you didn't know the assumptions that you come with about where you come from, whether you think it's a creator God that you came from, where you think, like, what do you think happens to you when you die? Do you think that all your troubles are over? Do you think, all the distresses that we have in our lives will just somehow finish? Oh, and I can relax. Who can relax? This is a very important question, finding Waldo here. It's very important because if the trouble that we're experiencing now, the distressors, ended when we died, then it's no problem. Relax. Go through life. But what if you were stuck with the same condition over and over and over and over, and you did not have this mind just for one lifetime, another 20 years, 30 years? What if you were stuck with this condition indefinitely that could spiral up or down? and you had to be forced to have these experiences again and again and again and again and again and again, then it's worth having a chip at it. Then it's worth saying, let me really find out where it comes from, let me fix it, I don't want to have them anymore. Because if you're going to land another body, and with it comes all the inertia of the things you're feeling right now, but a little bit bigger, and then again, you want to chip away at the things that are disturbing you. If that wasn't true, if we really did die and nothing happened, then that's no problem. Let's enjoy a party, everyone. Hooray, I'm going, back to online dating. Oh, what do I mean back to it? Are you still doing it? Okay, so it's a big question, because the implication is, whatever this mind is, wherever it came from, with all the stuff that it came with, if we can find that, but truly find it, and chip away at the assumptions. Now, I have to be honest, most of my Buddhist practice has been thinking that there's a creator God there watching me meditate on Buddha, If the more I go into a subtle level of consciousness, I feel this sense that my mind is saying, oh, there's someone there watching, going, oh, that's very good over there, And it's not been until the last 5 years or so that I've really felt that that's a ridiculous idea for me, But I carried that from my Catholic days as a self-existent external thing, creator thing, because I grew up with that. And the same, from a scientific only point of view, where things are just chemicals, then you go back to just chemicals. If that's true, then all cool. But what if it isn't? So let's find it, And we'll go digging for it, okay? So Jesha is all existing things. Takpa, Mitakpa has two things. Has Bempo, and Bempo is physical matter, okay? And then you have Rigpa, which is mind. So let's go to Bempo. Bempo has two things. Physical matter can be divided into two things according to this thing. And let's see if I can, in the philosophical system at the time, the sense powers, the living cells, they come from, they're explaining the Heart Sutra. Now I know, nose, no tongue, no body, no form, no sense, no smells, no taste, no touch, no so. So it's the senses, The eye sense, not the eye consciousness. There's two different things, okay? From this system, the Wangpo refers to the sense powers. And at the time, before microscopes, before $10 billion Hadron Colliders, they understood that there are a bunch of cells sensing physical stuff, not conscious stuff, physical sensing stuff like plant, like a physical matter in you, internal to you. And then there's physical matter external to you, okay? Wenpo Chisuk. So we're going to go to the sense powers first. You with me so far? So let's go through the sense powers. They believed that at the back of your eye there was a group of a cluster of cells or sensing stuff that when it came in contact with the external physical stuff, an object to see, a light object, it would produce a millisecond later in the mind that eye consciousness of anything visible, and that you are nothing but the collection of those things: the eye, the ear, the nose, the taste, the feelings, and then the mind as well as a separate thing. Are you with me? So that's a whole study by itself. So I don't expect you to believe anything here. You shouldn't, but it should chip away a little bit. It should be the near Lengikyo that chips away at any incorrect assumption, because if it's correct, it should with logic, it should brush away any misconception.
Can you explain that a little bit further?
Huh?
Can you explain that a little bit further?
The sense powers. The idea that your skin is sensing, yeah, is a millisecond before your consciousness of the feeling. That there is physical stuff, and we call it the optic nerve in science. We call it the optic nerve, yeah, or whatever that thing is at the back of the retina. We say that there is stuff, cells that turn on and off, yeah,
Rods and cones.
those stuff, yeah, they just didn't know to call it that. They had other words for it, yeah, and that when interacting with an object changes, like a mirror, yeah, or no, I don't want to use the mirror because it's a metaphor for the mind. It senses a change in objects, yeah, and then communicates that change. When those two come together, an awareness arises. That's a millisecond after the sensation in the optic nerve of light, dark, light, dark. But the light, dark, the wangpo, the sense powers that are internal, the wangpo, are not yet mind, okay? Because we're in the benpo side, the physical stuff. This is not consciousness, this is not mind. Mind is described as aware and knowing. Let's think about mind, the quality of mind.
It's kind of like the receiver receiving.
It's like the eardrum, it's like the drum moving, yeah? That's not sound. That's the drum moving. That would be the sense power of the ear, or the coil, or whatever you call the thing that senses, yeah? That is the wangpo. There's nothing interpreting that yet,
Yeah.
yeah? That's rikpa. You with me?
The
Yeah.
interpreting part is Ringpa.
Sorry?
The interpreting part is
Rigpa is mind, yeah. So you have a sensing thing. It says there's a shift in the matrix, yeah. It's sound and no sound, sound and no sound, and the ear is going no. But there's nothing interpreting it until Rigpa comes in and has a consciousness about it. It's just the idea here, and you can go and investigate this and spend time, and it's worth doing. Yeah, it's a different way of looking at the universe. But it says that there are cells, there are sensing stuff in the world. There's I don't know what's plant got that does that with sunlight. Photosynthesis. You know that there isn't a mind, assuming that we understand plants. There isn't a mind in there that has self-perpetuating consciousness that interprets the sunlight. It's just producing, what's the green stuff? It's producing chlorophyll. Thank you. Yeah, it changes with the light and it produces chlorophyll. That's it. It's a sensing thing. And they're saying that the human, the complete human, which is obviously a combination of mind, physical and mind, it's some kind, you are some kind of that, some kind of benpo rikpa thing, yeah? So let's go looking for mind, that first moment of mind. Remember, we're looking for that. Let's go looking in here. Is it in the cells at the back of the eye? Is it in the eardrum part? Is it in that physical stuff? It's part of the world. It's part of the physical division, right? Physical and mind. We know that the answer's over there because we said like produces like. We know the answer is Rigpa, somewhere in Rigpa, yeah? But just to be sure, through the process of elimination, Kedrup J goes through, well, let's spend some time in Benpo, Wangpo, and Chisuk. Let's look at the internal physical stuff and the external, the atoms and all the other chemicals that make up life, yeah? Because it could be there. The first moment of consciousness could be there. Let's go looking, yeah? So we're going to do that argument when I come back. Yeah, so let's take a 10-minute break, come back at 52. We're going to spend, whose loved one are we communicating with? Yours or yours?
Do yours.
No, let's do yours. And
And then next week out.
Yeah?
Oh.
When we come back from the break, we'll spend a few minutes writing little cards and loving.
Oh, I didn't bring cards.
I brought some,
Oh,
because I'm prepared.
Oliver.
And then we'll go through Wampo, Chi, Suk, and then end up in Rigpa. Yeah? Looking for Waldo. The first moment, where did that come from? You really have to say, if it's a changing thing, which it is, it's produced. It means it came from somewhere. Something popped it into existence. Someone pushed it through the door. The pusher changed as it exerted energy to bring it into a being. But where is it? Is it physical? Is it mental? That's what we're doing now. Are you with me? Enjoy break back at 53. Thank you.